God has a plan for you. Have you ever reached a point in your life where nothing made sense? You worked hard, stayed patient, prayed with all your heart, and still watched your dreams slip further away. You saw people who started after you move ahead while you remained in the same place. Every morning you woke up hoping that today would be different, yet every evening ended with the same disappointment. In those moments, the hardest question isn't why am I struggling? The hardest question is God, where are you? There are seasons in life when heaven seems silent. You pray, but there is no immediate answer. You wait, but nothing changes. You hope, but every closed door makes your heart a little heavier. It is during these seasons that many people begin to believe they have been forgotten. But what if silence doesn't mean absence? Think about a teacher during an exam. Throughout the lessons, the teacher explains everything, answers questions, and guides every step. But when the exam begins, the teacher becomes silent, not because they have abandoned the student, but because it is time for them to grow. Life often feels like that. During your greatest challenges, God's silence may not be rejection, it may simply mean that He is allowing your faith, your patience, your courage, and your character to mature. Every great story begins with uncertainty. Every mountain is climbed one difficult step at a time. Every mighty tree begins as a tiny seed buried beneath the ground, hidden in darkness. To the outside world, that seed looks forgotten. No one applauds it, no one notices it. Yet beneath the surface, something extraordinary is happening. Tiny roots are spreading, preparing the tree for the height it will one day reach. Your life may feel buried today, but perhaps you are not being buried at all. Perhaps you are being planted. The world celebrates visible success, but God often works in invisible ways. Before a building rises into the sky, workers spend months digging deep into the earth to create a strong foundation. People walking by may wonder why nothing is being built. They don't realize that the most important work is happening where no one can see it. The same is true for your life. Your unseen battles, your quiet prayers, your lonely nights, and your hidden tears may be building a foundation strong enough to carry the blessings that are still on their way. Imagine trying to read only one page of a 1,000-page novel. If that page contains heartbreak, loss, or failure, you might conclude that the story is tragic, but the author knows the ending. The final chapters may reveal that every painful moment had a purpose. We often judge our lives by a single chapter, while God sees the entire book. That job you didn't get, that relationship that ended, that opportunity you missed, that dream that seems delayed, none of these events alone define your future. Sometimes what feels like the end is only the beginning of a chapter you cannot yet understand. History is filled with people whose greatest blessings came after their greatest disappointments. They experienced rejection before acceptance, failure before victory, loneliness before purpose, and waiting before fulfillment. Looking back, many of them realized they would never have become the people they were meant to be if life had gone according to their original plans. Perhaps that is true for you as well. Maybe your current season isn't about punishment, maybe it is about preparation. Maybe every delay is teaching you patience, maybe every failure is teaching you wisdom, maybe every closed door is protecting you from something you cannot yet see, and maybe, just maybe, the life you are asking God for requires you to become a stronger, wiser, kinder, and more faithful person first. The truth is this: God's plan rarely follows our timetable. We want immediate answers, instant success, and quick solutions, but God is far more interested in preparing your character than satisfying your schedule. A blessing received too early can become a burden. A responsibility accepted before you are ready can crush you. So, sometimes the greatest act of love is not giving you what you want today, but preparing you to receive something even better tomorrow. So, before you decide that your story is over, remember this: a caterpillar cannot imagine becoming a butterfly, a seed cannot imagine becoming a forest, and you cannot yet imagine everything God may still have planned for your life. Your present circumstances are not your final destination. The delays are not permanent. The silence is not forever. The pain is not meaningless, the waiting is not wasted, because even when you cannot see it, even when you cannot feel it, and even when nothing around you seems to be changing, God is still working. He is arranging people you haven't met, opening doors you cannot yet see, teaching lessons you will one day be grateful for, and writing a story that is far more beautiful than anything you could have planned on your own. So don't give up, don't lose hope, and don't mistake the middle of your story for the end, because God has a plan for you, and His timing has never been early and it has never been late. It has always been exactly right. Every delay has a divine purpose. One of the most painful experiences in life is waiting. Waiting for a job, waiting for healing, waiting for success, waiting for the right person, waiting for a breakthrough, waiting for a prayer to be answered. The waiting itself is difficult, but what makes it even harder is not knowing how long it will last. When days turn into months and months turn into years, doubt quietly begins to enter the heart. You start asking questions you never imagined you would ask. Did I make the wrong decision? Has God forgotten me? Why do others seem blessed while I keep struggling? These questions are deeply human. Nearly everyone who has lived by faith has wrestled with them at some point. But here is a truth that can change the way you see your life. A delay is not always a denial. Sometimes a delay is God's way of preparing you for something that would have overwhelmed you if it had arrived too soon. Think about an architect building a skyscraper. Before anyone sees the beautiful glass walls or the impressive height, workers spend months digging deep into the ground. To someone passing by, it may look as though nothing is happening. There is noise, dust, and empty space, but no building. What they cannot see is the foundation. The taller the building, the deeper the foundation must be. God often works the same way. If He has prepared something significant for your future, He may first spend time strengthening your character, your wisdom, your patience, and your faith. The deeper the purpose, the longer the preparation. We often ask God to change our circumstances while God is trying to change us, and sometimes that inner transformation becomes the greatest miracle of all. Look at the life of Joseph. As a young man, Joseph dreamed that one day he would become a leader. But instead of reaching the palace immediately, he was betrayed by his own brothers, sold into slavery, falsely accused, and thrown into prison. If Joseph had judged God's plan by his circumstances, he would have believed that every promise had failed. But every painful character was quietly preparing him for the next one. Slavery taught him humility, prison taught him endurance, responsibility taught him leadership. When the time finally came, Joseph was ready, not just to receive power but to use it wisely. If he had become a ruler before those experiences, he might not have had the wisdom to save an entire nation. Sometimes the greatest gift God gives you is not an immediate answer, it is the person you become while you are waiting. That is why you should never compare your timeline with someone else's. A flower blooms in one season, a fruit tree in another, a bamboo plant spends years developing its roots before it suddenly grows rapidly toward the sky. Different creations have different timings, and each fulfills its purpose. Your life is no different. Just because someone else's blessing arrived sooner does not mean yours is late. God is not following your neighbor's calendar, He is following His perfect plan for your life. The world tells you that if success does not happen quickly, you have failed. But God often chooses a different path. He values depth more than speed, character more than popularity, faithfulness more than fame. So, if your progress feels slow, don't be discouraged. Some of the strongest people in history spent years in preparation before the world ever knew their names. Your waiting season is not empty. Every challenge is teaching you something. Every disappointment is shaping your heart. Every obstacle is building strength you will need in the future. One day you may look back and realize that what felt like the slowest years of your life were actually the years when God was doing His greatest work within you. So don't rush the process, don't lose hope because the answer hasn't arrived yet. Trust the one who sees the beginning, the middle, and the end of your story all at once, because the God who planted the dream in your heart also knows the perfect time for it to bloom. And when that day comes, you will understand that every delay had a divine purpose. When God closes a door, He is protecting you. Have you ever prayed with all your heart for something only to watch it disappear? Maybe it was the job you desperately wanted. Maybe it was a relationship you believed would last forever. Maybe it was a dream you spent years building only to see it collapse before your eyes. Nothing hurts more than watching a door close when you were certain it was the right one. At first, disappointment fills your heart, then confusion follows. You begin to wonder if your prayers were ignored. You ask yourself why God would allow something so painful to happen. But what if that closed door was not meant to hurt you? What if it was meant to protect you? Imagine a small child reaching toward a blazing fire because it looks beautiful. The child does not understand the danger. A loving parent quickly pulls the child's hand away. The child cries, thinking the parent has taken away something wonderful. But the parent wasn't being cruel, the parent was being protective. Many times we are like that child. We see only what is in front of us. We see the opportunity, the relationship, the promotion, or the dream. We don't see what lies beyond it. We cannot see the hidden dangers, the future disappointments, or the unseen consequences. But God can. His vision stretches far beyond our own. There are moments when God says no, not because He wants to punish you, but because He loves you too much to let you walk into something that would eventually break you. Think about Joseph once again. His brothers sold him into slavery. If you had asked Joseph at that moment whether God had a plan, he might have struggled to answer. Everything seemed to be falling apart. Then he served faithfully in Potiphar's house only to be falsely accused and thrown into prison. Another door slammed shut. At each closed door quietly redirected him toward the palace. If he had remained comfortably at home, he would never have become the leader who saved countless lives. The path that looked like failure was actually the road to his purpose. Your life may feel similar today. Perhaps you lost an opportunity that seemed perfect. Perhaps someone walked away from your life. Perhaps your plans collapsed overnight. It is natural to grieve those losses. Faith does not mean pretending pain does not exist. Even the strongest people experience heartbreak, but faith invites us to believe that our present understanding is limited. Sometimes the greatest blessings come disguised as disappointments. Many people can look back years later and say, at the time I begged God to open the door. Today I thank Him for keeping it closed. Why? Because with time comes perspective. The opportunity they lost led them to a better one. The rejection they feared pushed them toward a purpose they never imagined. The delay that frustrated them protected them from a future they were not meant to live. God often answers prayers in ways we do not immediately recognize. Sometimes the answer is yes, sometimes the answer is wait, and sometimes the answer is I have something better. The difficult part is that we usually understand His answer only after we have walked through the season. Imagine reading only one chapter of a novel. If the chapter ends in heartbreak, you might assume the story has ended in tragedy, but the author knows what comes next. God is the author of your story. He knows every page before it is written. He sees every tear before it falls. He knows every victory before it arrives. So, when a door closes, resist the temptation to believe your life is over. A closed door is not the end of the hallway. There may be another door you haven't noticed yet. There may even be a path you never imagined taking. The greatest discoveries often begin when our original plans fall apart. So, if you are standing in front of a closed door today, don't let disappointment steal your hope. Lift your eyes, keep walking, keep trusting. The same God who closed the door is fully able to open another one that no one can shut. And when the door finally opens, you may discover that what once felt like your greatest loss became the beginning of your greatest blessing. Trust the journey, trust the process. Most importantly, trust the one who is guiding every step, even when the path ahead is hidden from your eyes. God is working even when you can't see it. One of the greatest challenges of faith is believing that something is happening when absolutely nothing seems to be changing. You pray every day, yet your situation looks the same. You work hard, but success feels far away. You keep hoping, but the answer never seems to arrive. After a while, your heart becomes tired. You begin to wonder if your efforts matter at all. But some of the most important work in life always happens where our eyes cannot see it. Think about a seed planted in the soil. The moment it is covered with dirt, it disappears from sight. Days pass, then weeks, the ground looks exactly the same. If you judged only by what you could see, you would assume that the seed had died. Yet beneath the surface, a miracle is taking place. The seed is breaking open, tiny roots are pushing through the soil. It is quietly becoming strong enough to support the tree it is destined to become. The greatest transformation begins in hidden places. God often works the same way in your lives. While you are worried about what is happening around you, God may be working within you. He is building patience where there was impatience. He is creating courage where there was fear. He is replacing pride with humility and weakness with strength. These changes are invisible at first, but they shape the person you are becoming. Sometimes we ask God to change our circumstances immediately. Instead, He first changes our character, and when our character is ready, our circumstances often begin to change as well. Consider a sculpture standing before a massive block of marble. To everyone else, it looks like an ordinary stone, but the sculpture already sees the masterpiece hidden inside. With every strike of the hammer, pieces fall away. If the stone could speak, it might ask, "Why are you hurting me?" The sculpture would answer, "I am not destroying you, I am revealing who you were created to become." Life often feels like those blows of the hammer: disappointments, failures, loneliness, unexpected losses. None of them feel pleasant in the moment. But God can use each one to remove fear, pride, selfishness, bitterness, and doubt, revealing a strong, wiser, more compassionate person beneath. This does not mean that every painful event is good. Pain is real, loss is real, grief is real, but God has the remarkable ability to bring good even from painful circumstances. That is why your current season should never be mistaken for your final destination. Winter is not the end of the tree. It is simply the season before new leaves begin to grow. Night is not the end of the day, it is the time that prepares us for sunrise. Likewise, your present struggles are not necessarily the end of your story. They may simply be the season before your breakthrough. There will be days when you feel like giving up because nothing seems to be happening. Those are the days when faith matters most. Faith is not pretending everything is perfect. Faith is choosing to trust even when you cannot yet see the outcome. Every step you take with integrity, every prayer you whisper, every act of kindness, every lesson you learn, every time you choose hope over despair, none of it is wasted. Even if no one notices your efforts today, God does. Nothing escapes His attention. One day, the growth that was invisible will become visible. People may suddenly call you successful. They may think your breakthrough happened overnight, but they will not see the years of quiet preparation, faithful endurance, and unseen growth that came before it. Remember this whenever you feel discouraged. A flower does not bloom every day, the sun does not rise every minute, the seasons do not change overnight. Everything beautiful follows a process. So, does God's plan for your life? If today feels ordinary, if today feels lonely, if today feels uncertain, do not lose heart. The silence does not mean God has stopped working. The waiting does not mean He has forgotten you. The hidden season is not an empty season, it is the place where God often performs His greatest work. So keep believing, keep growing, keep trusting, because while you may not see it yet, God is already preparing the next chapter of your story. And when His perfect time arrives, you will look back and realize that even in the moments when you thought nothing was happening, as we come to the end of this journey, remember one simple truth. Your life is not defined by your current circumstances. It is not defined by your failures, your fears, your delays, or the doors that have closed. Your story is still being written, and the other has not reached the final chapter. Maybe today you are carrying a burden no one knows about. Maybe you are praying for an answer that hasn't come. Maybe you are wondering if your dreams will ever become reality. Don't lose hope. Some of God's greatest miracles begin in seasons that feel ordinary. Some of His greatest blessings arrive after the longest periods of waiting, and some of the most beautiful chapters of life begin right after the pages filled with tears. Keep trusting even when you don't understand. Keep moving even when progress feels slow. Keep believing even when your faith feels small. Every step you take in faith matters. Every prayer is heard. Every tear is seen. And every challenge can become part of a greater purpose. One day you will look back and realize that the moments you wanted to escape were the very moments that shaped you into the person you were meant to become. So hold on. Your breakthrough may be closer than you think. Your purpose is greater than your pain, and your future is bigger than your present struggle. If this message touched your heart, share it with someone who needs hope today. And if you want more inspiring stories and powerful lessons to help you grow in both life and English, subscribe to Echo English and join us on this journey. Before you leave, here is a question to think about. If you could see your entire life the way God sees it from beginning to end, would you still worry about the chapter you are living today? Thank you for listening. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, keep believing, and never forget God has a plan for you.